On rhythm guitar, Brethren, Lewis from Austin, and from London at harmonica, Rory.
The next section of recorders I want to talk about is the Teac Tascam. This is probably one of the most interesting things to me is how this developed. And I'll share with you a little bit about what I've learned about the Concertone Teac connection. And it's interesting that over time, as they developed their multi-track recorders, that in the end, they evolved into building recorders for the Ampex Corporation, which is one of the top recording manufacturers in the United States.
The Teac company begins in the early 1950s. Tomoma Tani brought home a handmade 3-motor, 3-head stereo tape recorder for his older brother, Katsuma, to inspect in 1956. And their company was Tokyo Television Acoustic Company. Later, the brothers created the Tokyo Electro Acoustic Company, or Teac, on December 24, 1956, to build and sell the new audio system that they had developed. As I was researching all the different companies, I know they say all roads lead to Rome, but it seems like a lot of the manufacturers led back to Teac. I thought it was interesting that they were actually building the Concertone amplifiers a lot earlier than I had anticipated for the Berlant Concertone professional models, as seen in these pictures. Concertone was also using the Japanese Teac facilities and building Concord reel tape recorders. Here's the Concord R1100 listed in our 1966 Hi-Fi stereo recorder directory. And later, the same model being released in an ad for the Teac A1200. Berlant Concertone actually had an influence on the originations of the Teac machine. No Teac tape recorders were imported into the United States prior to 1965. So if you were buying a Teac recorder, you bought it somewhere else in the world. Around the middle to late 1965, according to the Tascam book, The 30 Years of Recording Evolution, the U.S. government required electronic importers to set up U.S.-based service facilities. One of these was set up for Teac and was located in Santa Monica, California, and named TCA, for Teac Corporation of America. Here they began retrofitting the Japanese stereo and quad decks for multi-track and simul-sync recording. The earliest Teac in our collection is the Teac 505, and it's really interesting because Teac company released a Concertone 505. These units are identical in design. That in this particular manual, in the back, the original owner had put in the Concertone brochure. Has your basic on-off, has mic and line inputs. To operate the machine, you put it in either play, rewind, or fast forward with the lever. Unfortunately, a lot of the writing has kind of disappeared on the deck. And then you press start. rewind, where you can hit stop, and you can go up to fast forward. The 3 monitor unit, the brake counter, one of the unique things is its ability to reverse, and let me show you how that setup goes. As you may be aware, a lot of the other reversing units either use a sensor at the end, which might be a recorded tone that enables the reverse, or there might be a piece of metallic tape that crosses a switch causing reverse, and even some who use silence at the end, which will enable the recorder to reverse. This particular machine, you make a loop so it attaches to the peg like that, and when the unit reaches the end of the tape, it pops over and hits the switch and makes it change. The unit is 2-speed, which is changed by changing out the capstan. And changing the equalization. The next one that was in our collection, actually belonging to my wife, and it was brought over from Vietnam, from Japan. This is the Teac 4010S, a stereo auto-reversing 4-track recorder. This recorder evolved into the TCA-40, the 42, and eventually this unit, which is in our collection, which is a TCA-43. But this time musicians had determined that this was a very useful unit for developing their music, and Teac implemented the SimulSync switches on top of the head covers of the TCA-43. So this unit was released from 1972 to 1973. And it was $695 new. In 1968, Teac released the 4-channel SimulSync A2340 and also the reversing A2340R. From 1968 to 73, the transport mechanism was a bit different from the later push-button units. You can distinguish the difference between those with the chrome inserts, the 1968 to 73 models, and those with the total black knobs later. The later ones, of course, had improved electronics. They were 2-speed, 7.5, 3 3/4, 4-track. The units offered a lot of options to musicians developing their music during this period. This unit has a separate control that enables the fast wind, pause, and play. And then it can be switched over to play. This is a Teac Series 70 8-track. This is the first 8-track produced on half-inch tape. The unit has 8 individual modules with record and playback control, and also has a ready, safe, and sync switch for each channel. The unit is 2-speed, 7.5 and 15. Provides editing and cue. On this particular unit, we have the backup master of the Willie Nelson tape that is in our collection. This is a Teac A2340 SX-2-track. This is a mastering machine and was used by us in the 70s and 80s, used by us to master both independent projects and the albums produced for Austin Custom Records and ourselves. It is 2-speed, 7.5, 15 IPS, 3-motor unit. Here's some clips from our van when we were doing an on-location recording. This is a Teac A2340. This was released first in 1972 and was still available in 1978 before it was replaced by the 3440. We used this unit in some capacity for almost 20 years.
Hey. It works. All right. No, that's good.
After using Webcore, Sony, Concertone, in July of 1977, we upgraded to the Teac line of products. We bought the Teac A2340 S, 4-track Simulsync multi-track tape recorder, and we got the Model 2 mixer with the MB 20 meter panel, and we also got the Teac A3300 SX 2-track for mastering. At this point, we were really able to begin producing the music that we had wanted to do all along. One of the early things we did was connect with Austin Custom Records, and we began recording for them all over Texas. We recorded in Dallas, Houston, Austin, and turned the masters over to Austin Custom Records, who then produced albums. We had a custom box built for the Teac A2340. And it was a box that would fit on the back of a hand truck so that we could easily move in and out of locations. Initially, we used a pair of Sears guitar amps to provide playback to the client. In this picture, you can see us on location doing the Dan and Dave live at the back room in Austin, Texas. The van had both the Teac 80-8, a Tapco mixing board. We also used the A2340 to do backup and playback tracks.
This is an on-location recording with the Housewife's Choice in Austin, Texas. This is Kim Myers being recorded outside of Austin on 2222. We did the initial tracks of her live in front of an audience, and then she came back, and if you listen to a bit of the tape here, you'll hear that we dubbed the vocals and additional guitar.
We've got room for one more. Which one shall it be?
We also were in numerous church locations.
In addition, we've done club recordings, and we've done concert recordings, including this one done at Symphony Square in Austin, for Clifford Zirkle's Big Band Sounds of Austin. So Teac Tascam has been quite a workhorse for us. We bought them first in 1977, and we used them up until the mid-90s, so almost 20 years. Even when we quit using them to do on-location recording and working with bands, when we went into video, the Teacs were used for doing voiceover work and also for doing music videos where we could sync with the master tapes.
The A2340 is a wonderful unit, runs 15, 7.5. This is a demo tape that we did 4-track with Tracy Lynn, an artist that we managed for quite a while, and a girl that is still out there really working on her music, really a great performer. Play you a little bit of this. We also have the RC120 remote.
And to top it all off, Teac created an album called Homemade with Teac. It took you through some of the early history of recording and then did instruction on how to use the Teac A2340.
The magnetic tape recorder Any other means.
Model 2 with the MB20 mixer panel gave artists even more flexibility in doing their recordings, especially in conjunction with the Teac 3340. The Teac Model 2 provides 6 inputs going to one master control. Each of the 6 inputs has a pan and has channel assignment 1 through 4 channels. There's also an independent tone control for both bass and treble on each channel. And then you can have a choice of microphone that is attenuated, a regular microphone input, or line input. The MB20 mixer panel is a 4-to-2 mixer and also allows channel selection with your monitor out. There's a volume control for headphones, and then you have a monitor select for each channel, assigning it to the left or the right, and then you have a choice of monitoring bus or tape. There are also bridge in and outs on the back so that you could run special effects through the unit. So we're basically using the Model 5 mixer to control this side of the studio. This Model 5 then feeds into actually a Model 1 that goes to our main studio recorder. But everything over here will play into the so we can do just about anything in this part. Including the large recorder, which is the Ampex back here. The Model 5 mixer has 8 channels in, 4 submixes, has all kinds of in and out controls, monitor gains. You can do sends to your studio, you can do sends to the control room. We used this for quite a while before we got the DM3200, but now it basically just supports the museum playback system in this part of the room. We can bring in quite a few different recorders, and if we want, we can tweak the signal in all kinds of ways. Right now they're sent in a stereo mix to the DM3200. But each channel does have echo, cue, different kinds of equalization, and at the top we can do mic attenuation and switch mic to line. In the control section, this belonged to a person that worked with high-end lighting systems, and you can see they put in a newer fader module. We put these Teac Model 1s around in the studio and in the museum, and this is basically running a lot of the different units that allows us to play the displays back. Here we have the half-inch 8-track Teac Tascam 80-8. It's an 8-channel in, and it also comes with this unit down here, which is the DX8, which is the noise reduction unit that goes with it. This is a very unique unit for us because when I first came to Austin in 1979, we used one of these to record the album Dan and Dave live at the back room, legends in our spare time because they had day jobs. They were a really fun country band playing a lot to the University of Texas fraternities. I wanted to add this to the collection because it was a real key part to some of the work we had done. We used this with a mixing board in our recording band that we had at that time. Ran the Snake into the back room club on East Riverside in Austin, Texas. We recorded several nights, performances, and used those to produce the final album. This particular unit, when I wanted to add it to the collection, I wanted to try to find it around the Austin area to save shipping and wear and tear on the unit. And we did find one here. When we brought the unit back, we were really happy because the seller had sold us 7 half-inch reels of Ampex tape and given us a lot of 7-inch reels to go with this unit. But once we got it home, we found out that the tapes he gave us had been recorded at the Riverbend Baptist Church, a live presentation of Willie Nelson. The downside was that the band who had the recorder had re-recorded over 6.5 of those tapes. But we did get 30 minutes of really great audio of Willie Nelson interacting with the Riverbend Baptist Church audience. And this was shortly after he had gone through his IRS debacle. So this was really a great find. And let you hear something of the interview with the minister at the Riverbend Baptist Church.
Teaching this class. What happened?
Well, I was also playing in playing in a band in Fort Worth. It was a nightclub that we played in. We played there 6 nights a week, and this was the way I was supporting my family. And the pastor of the church said that there had been some talk about that maybe I shouldn't try to do both. I should choose which one I wanted to do. So that was a hard decision, especially since I was making money over at the other place.
They weren't paying you to teach Sunday school.
The funny part of it was, though, is that most of the people that I was singing to were over there on Saturday nights. I was still singing to them on Sunday morning.
Even though there was a bleed over among tracks because it was at an open-air church. So, for example, Teac Tascam first released the 80-8 in 1976. They released the DX8 in 1977. The $3,500 Teac 80-8 Tascam series recorder was comparable to a $10,000 Ampex 8-track machine on the market at the time. Few people know that this machine was used in the production of the sound effects for Star Wars for the R2-D2. We have a replica of R2-D2 in our collection. Here's a quizzical look from our dog as she listens to the sound from R2-D2. The 88 really became a workhorse in the industry. The ability to have 8 tracks on half-inch tape. Having the 88 available to musicians who could not otherwise afford to go into multi-track studios was really helpful. This unit was also a follow-up to the Teac 70 series, an 8-track, which is another unit which we have in our collection. And this was the first unit putting 8 tracks on half-inch tape. We also have the Fostex R8, which is putting 8 tracks on quarter-inch tape. And then we have the Fostex G16, which is putting 16 tracks on half-inch tape. Between Tascam Series 70 recorders and the model 80-8. Tascam also released a model called the Series 80 professional recorder reproducer. It had a little bit higher specs and ran at 15 inches per second and 30 inches per second. Teac Tascam's 88 was used by a variety of groups, including the Eagles, Boston, Kansas, basically working on tracks at home and then transferring the information to studio work. The Teac Tascam Series 35-2. This replaced the 25-2 as a mastering machine, and then also replaced the 3300 2-track. The unit plays and records 7.5, 15 IPS, has pitch control.
The Doobie Brothers and China Grove.
3440, and in fact did a lot of demo work, especially with a local artist called Tracy Lynn, and this has some of her work on it. I'll just play a second of this. And often we would mix two of the tracks to a third track, and thus we could keep increasing tracks. Here's the Teac A2340 with the RX9 DPX noise reduction unit. The 3440 was released in 1979, ran about $1,200, and replaced the 3340. It added pitch control and was definitely of a higher quality unit. This was a Tascam 22.2 that was donated to us by Austin's Time Warner as they were phasing out tape equipment. The unit runs at 7.5 and 15 IPS. This was a tape recorded by Peter Butcher of a British group. This is the Tascam 388 Studio 8. This is an 8-track quarter-inch 7.5 IPS machine with the mixer built in. It is a complete recording studio set up all in one.
can't get out of here without a little angel flying too close to the ground. Would you like me to?
Here we have the Tascam BR20T. The T stands for the fact that this unit has the capability to have a time code track. This was built in 1992, and a Tascam representative told us that it was probably the last Tascam tape recorder built. It has incredible flexibility. Over here beside the unit, we have remote controls for the various tape recorders. So for example, the one that you were just seeing over here to the left, I can control